Joining us live this morning via Skype is former Conservative Cabinet Minister, Foreign Affairs and Defense Minister Peter MacKay. Mr. MacKay, appreciate you joining us this morning. Let's start with your reaction to this attack by Hamas 4 days ago and the response so far by Israel.
Well, obviously, this has been a complete, unprovoked and horrific attack in terms of the way in which it was carried out, going door to door, literally in communities near Gaza and on the West Bank. And any attempts to sort of rationalize or proportionalize Israel's response are completely off the mark. This is worrisome on a number of levels, Nick, not to mention, of course, not the least of which is the escalation, which we are already seeing, the loss of human life, threats to execute those hostages who were taken out of Israel, many just dragged from their homes or their vehicles. And so this is a very, very worrisome situation that could see the entire region become more involved in this war. And it is a war.
Yeah. Yeah, and Peter, we heard Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu vow or pledge to wipe out Hamas. But how do you see this war progressing?
Well, Jennifer, that's a good question. One of the factors that has not received a lot of attention is the extent to which other countries, including Lebanon, Hezbollah, and the Iranian Republic, the regime in Iran, has for a very long time been providing weapons, using the Palestinians really as a proxy against Israel. And so those external forces providing more weapons is of real concern to Israel. They, of course, are doing everything they can to neutralize the ability of Hamas to strike inside their country. They've been attempting to do this for years, as you would know, and of course, calling up the reservists and, in fact, bringing, in some cases, people back to Israel gives you a clear indication that this could be a long run.
It seems that way indeed, and I also wonder, this is sparking just massive international response, absolute condemnation from so much of the Western world. I wonder, as governments talk at these high levels about such an important and life-threatening situation, what do you think the central focus of these conversations is? How do those talks go?
Well, Nick, that is the quintessential question. Very difficult for diplomacy at this point. Obviously, we have seen the extent, the level, the suddenness of the violence. We did see a list of countries, most notably 5 of the G7 countries, coming out with clear condemnation of Hamas and these attacks. Canada was not initially a signatory of that list, which is quite surprising. More countries have since joined. Still no sign of Canada. So that is a bit worrisome. The talks behind the scenes, of course, I suspect will begin and continue in earnest, but I fear that we are a long way from any sort of diplomatic solution at this point. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is intent on neutralizing the threat inside Gaza and inside the West Bank that Hamas have been, shelling them, sending rockets into civilian communities for a very long period of time. So that has to be the focus to stop the violence.
Okay, Peter MacKay, former Conservative Cabinet Minister, appreciate your time and insight on this. Thank you.
Thank you.